Every murder town is unique, every story terrifying. Tonight, we visit a town that faced a one-man crime wave.
This man was on the loose and nobody knew if he'd strike again.
We explore how his crimes escalated.
He's got nothing to lose, and this might well have been the trigger for him to go out in a blaze of glory.
And culminated in an evil murder.
He broke in with a machete and hacked him to death.
Wrexham is tonight's Murdertown. Some killers attack complete strangers. Some target the vulnerable, the young, or the elderly. And some prey on people that they know. There are killers who are inspired by money or by revenge, by sexual deviancy, by hatred. There are opportunists and there are meticulous planners. But what unites these men and women is one simple trait, and it's the most terrifying thing of all. They live amongst us. In our towns, on our streets, in our houses. They're just like the rest of us, but capable of evil. And they could be anywhere. Welcome to Murdertown.
Do you feel it in the air? Oh. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes.
Tonight's episode explores a one-man crime wave that left Wrexham reeling. It's an old market town, once a crossroads between England and Wales, that's home to industry, the arts, and Britain's first lager. It's recently become a home for new businesses, high-tech manufacturing, and biotechnology. But in 2017, it was a town that was under attack from a local man who was plotting murder.
I've worked at Flint for 4 years doing response, which is responding to 999 calls.
And you could be turning up from any job, from a murder down to a simple neighbourhood dispute.
In March 2017, a call came in that a robbery had just been committed in Flint near Wrexham, and police were dispatched to find the getaway car.
Everywhere was shut, so there was nowhere open, no one about. Flint's quite a small town, so we tried to figure out where the direction would have been the cars come from. More or less, as we got to this view here, we've seen the car at the pumps there, so we've pulled into the petrol station and parked up right in front of it, nose to nose with the vehicle.
The officers had located the wanted car. Now they needed to find out who was inside.
Come out the car and I've gone to speak to the girl here. She was sat in the front passenger seat. I could see loads of rubbish in the back, quilts, a gas bottle, a wheelchair, and they were saying they were homeless and they were just living in the car. I could literally just see a hand moving in the back, so I remember banging on the window, and that's when I've seen him winding the window down because it's an old car. I've asked him what his name is. He's given me his name, he's given me his date of birth. I remember writing it on my hand. That's when I've heard the click of the door. And for me, it was a decision I had to make: do we keep him in the car, or do we try and get him out? So my decision was just to get him out. I remember unzipping him, pulling his hood off, and he turned his head away. As soon as I saw him do that, I thought, I know who you are, and you're Jordan Davidson.
Before David could arrest the man, he revealed a weapon.
Stay there! Stay there!
He's produced this claw hammer, and I just remember seeing the claw hammer go above his head.
And as he's brought his hand back out, I've grabbed hold of it, and there's been a blanket covering his hand, so I couldn't see what he had. I could just feel that he had his fist clenched, been turning whatever it was towards me, saying, "I've got a gun, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you."
I remember just taking a step back and drawing my taser and firing it into the back of the car.
Taser me, Reese. Taser me. Stay there.
I've dragged him across the floor and out to sort of the back corner of the vehicle, and then other officers have arrived at that point and sort of helped me finish cuffing him. And then once he's been cuffed, I'm sort of pinned down with him at the back of the car. Albie's come round to the back holding his arm, and I can see there's cuts and things on his arm. And I've said, "It's him, isn't it?" Eventually, while that's been happening, I've got my top cuff on his hand and just dragged the hand that had something in it out of the car and pulled him out, and then sort of finished handcuffing him halfway out the car and dragged him onto the floor into the back of the car when other people have arrived.
You okay? You okay? Yeah.
Just sprayed him once.
I sprayed him. I got my thing in. It's the first time I used it. You all right? Yeah.
After tasering him 4 times, police finally had Jordan Davidson under arrest. But why was Davidson so keen to avoid capture? What dark deeds had brought him to the attention of the police? There are criminals all over the UK, and even murderers can find unlikely places to lie low and blend into their communities. The town of Wrexham in North Wales is no different. Jez Hemming is a reporter with Wrexham's local newspaper, the Daily Post.
I've been a journalist for around 18 years, and I've been concentrating on courts and crime reporting for around the last 4 or 5 years. Like any regional paper, it's a real mishmash of stories. We do everything from the lighter stories through to the more serious incidents that the area has to offer. Wrexham's the largest town in North Wales. It's got a population of about 61,500, just a little more than that. It's a lively town. There's a good nightlife. It's proud to be Welsh. It's also proud of its football team. But it's seen hard times. You'll see around town there's a number of shops that have been left empty. It's got its pockets of criminality in certain areas, but ultimately it's a lively and interesting place. One of the areas we know at the Daily Post is Kaya Park. Kaya Park is a residential area in Wrexham. There's a lot of council houses there, there's a large estate there, and it's a mixture of working class and people who perhaps are claiming benefits. It wouldn't be unfair to say that it's an economically depressed area. There is a great spirit, there's a lot of good community work that goes on there, and people are trying to make changes, but there are problems, there are antisocial problems there, and there are problems with arson and vehicle arson in particular.
The Kaya Park estate is just a stone's throw from the city centre.
There is crime in Kaya Park. There always will be in Kaya Park, because I suppose it's people that's in it, really. But there is a lot of good people as well. Please try and do the best, but, you know, they can't be around all the time.
But unbeknown to the people of Wrexham, in 2017, a prospective killer moved into the estate. His name was Jordan Davidson, and his life of crime had begun back in 2010.
Jordan Davidson was an unpredictable character. He was known to be fond of knives and blades, and I suppose you would say at the time he was a low to medium level criminal who was living his life on the wrong side of the tracks.
Davidson was a serial burglar in and out of prison. By the age of 23, he'd clocked up 38 offences for serious dishonesty.
He had a group of friends that he was close to, probably 3 or 4 friends that he was close to, but I think there was a limit to those relationships too. I think generally he acted on the outskirts of society, and he was grifting his way through life.
In 2014, while on early release from prison, Davidson struck again, conducting a mini crime wave that left Wrexham in fear. Houses were burgled, windows smashed, and property stolen. Davidson's lawyer claimed he was mentally unwell following drug abuse, but that was little comfort to the community. A judge said it was time the people of Wrexham were given as long a rest as possible, and jailed Davidson for 3 years. But Davidson was once again told he could get an early release. He walked out of prison and returned to Rexom.
When Jordan Davidson was released from prison, he was sent to a hostel on Crescent Road in Wrexham.
Davidson was back on the streets and living in Kaya Park, a community that was no stranger to murder. It was on the same estate in 2015 that 4 men were involved in a murder. The victim, Sean Davis, was shot repeatedly with a crossbow after apparently going to collect a drugs debt. He was then stabbed, slashed, and then fell from a 3rd-floor balcony to his death. Murder again hit Kaya Park Estate in 2013. Alexandros Wetherill killed a woman after burgling her home. Pathologists found he'd used prolonged pressure on her neck to subdue her as he and a gang broke into the home and stole her possessions. But in 2017, it was Jordan Davidson who was in the Kaya Park community. He was obsessed with knives, with a number of previous convictions. And now he was out of prison on licence, which means he could be returned to custody if he was caught committing any offence. But that didn't seem to be keeping him in line.
It's the 19th of March. In the early hours, Jordan Davidson is in Wrexham town centre at a nightclub. There's an altercation in there. Jordan Davidson's ejected. We then move to a car park at the bottom of Town Hill, and Jordan Davidson's got his shirt off. There's 4 men in front of him, and he's goading them to fight with him. He's armed with a knife, a 3-inch fold-away knife that's tucked into the belt of his trousers. The police arrive. They see Davidson acting in a threatening manner, and they go to arrest him. Jordan Davidson tries to throw the knife into some bushes, but the police see this, and the police move in and they apprehend him. I think Davidson, at this point, when he's arrested, probably realised that this was the point at which he was going to go back to prison. Davidson's taken into custody. He's taken straight to court at the next available opportunity, and he's bailed until the 24th of March, when he'll reappear at court, and supposedly his licence will be activated.
So Davidson was once again back on the streets, but only for 4 more days before he knew he'd be recalled by the courts.
It's difficult to know what was actually going through Jordan Davidson's mind at that point, but it's reasonable to assume if he knows he's going back to jail, he may well feel that he's got nothing to lose. And this might well have been the trigger and the catalyst for him to go on and go out in a blaze of glory.
The clock was ticking. On March 22nd, Jordan Davidson arrived in Crescent Close. And he was looking for an opportunity to commit more crime.
2 days after Davidson's bailed by police, he's back in Kaya Park and he's prowling the area looking for places to rob. He's looking for unoccupied properties, and he spots the house of Robert Simmons.
I got home from work about 20 to 3 in the afternoon, and normally I lock the door behind me, but I left it open this day because I was expecting my sister to come so I could take her shopping. So while I was waiting, I thought to myself, right, I'll have a quick shower. And as I was getting dressed, the door opened. A few seconds later, I heard the door shut. So I thought, that's funny, because my sister would normally shout. So I ran outside, and there was only one person about, and I just shouted to him. I shouted, "Can I help you, mate?" And he turned round, and he had a scarf around his face and his hood up. I could only really see his eyes. And he shouted back, "Sorry, mate, got the wrong place." It worried me a bit, like, because I thought, well, who is he? I went to go out to lock the door, but my keys had gone. At this point, I panicked. Thought, well, I better get my locks changed, because I was worried he might come back. After a while, I just went back into the kitchen and I looked outside and my car's gone.
With a stolen car, Davidson was now mobile, and the next opportunity to strike was just around the corner.
Jordan Davidson has crashed the car. He's moved away from the area and laid low for a while, then comes back to a unisex hair salon called Unique. He walks in there brandishing a machete after arriving on a bike, and he threatens 4 female members of staff and tells them to open the till and give him money. They resist. Then a man from a nearby shop comes in and stands with them and challenges Davidson. And this is too much for Davidson, and he decides to make his escape. It probably gives you an insight into the character of the people that live around Kaya Park. You know, they're a strong community, and you know they don't stand for any messing. But you know, it took some guts to stand up to a man like Davidson, who would be physically imposing, masked and armed. So within the locality and within the community, people are starting to talk. There's incidents happening, and it seems like Davidson's behaviour is starting to escalate. In broad daylight, he's brandishing a machete. He's going into businesses where he could well be seen or stopped. He knows things are unravelling for him. He knows things are going badly. Who knows what he's capable of?
But Davidson's crime spree intensifies. 2 days later, the day he's due to be returned to prison, he strikes again. In 2017, the North Wales town of Wrexham was under attack from a young man called Jordan Davidson. He was on a rampage, breaking into houses and stealing cars. His crimes had even turned violent as he held up 4 members of staff in a hair salon. His crimes were escalating, and they were all centred around the Kaya Park estate. But residents there were none the wiser.
It is a quiet place, it's a small town. The people on that estate are all, if you like, close to each other. I know everybody, and it's like an extension of the house, because I know everybody on there and everybody knows me as well.
Michael Rogers moved to Wrexham from London. He spent some of his time in one of the estate's local pubs, and on the day that Davidson was roaming the streets, that's where Michael was.
That day, I went to town to see a group of friends. Then when they went home, I went to another pub, had a few pints there, and then decided to go home.
Michael's route took him through the greenery of Kaya Park. But he didn't know that he wasn't alone.
I was walking through here, and I saw a chap coming towards me with a hood on. And he said to me, "Have you got a light?" I said, "No, I'm sorry. I don't smoke." And then I walked maybe 5 or 10 yards, and all of a sudden I felt this arm around my throat. And then he threw me to the ground. We got to this bench here, and this is where it happened. He threw me down on that side of the bench. So he left me on the ground and started shouting at me. Look at me. Look at me, he says. I'm going to cut your head off. And I just said to him, why me? I'm an old age pensioner, I've got nothing. Why me? I don't know you. He then took a big blade out of his jacket and he said, I'm going to cut your head off. And I just laid there, hoping it would all finish, if you like. Now, when that happened, this girl shouted. I didn't see her, I don't know who she is. What do you think you're doing? He didn't answer her, but he went over to her. I then scrambled to my feet and walked away. If that girl hadn't been there, I think he would have killed me.
Michael Rogers made his escape through the park and didn't dare look back.
One regret is that I didn't try and help her. All that was in my mind was, I've got to get away.
The woman wasn't attacked, and Jordan Davidson disappeared back into Wrexham. Wrexham is a town that's witnessed almost 5,000 violent crimes in the last year. But there's a history of violence too. Back in 2013, Francesco Prevette attacked another man in a city centre pub. He followed his victim into the toilets, armed with a flick knife, and inflicted 52 separate wounds. And in 2010, Brian Buckley was told he'd serve at least 22 years behind bars after murdering his partner in a sustained violent attack. The 41-year-old punched and headbutted his victim before texting his work to say he'd not return because he'd just committed murder. But in 2017, it was Jordan Davidson that was giving the police the runaround. He'd just attacked Michael Rogers in Kaya Park, but before he could carry out any violence, he'd been interrupted.
The thing that saves Mr. Rogers is the appearance of a young teenage girl who knows Davidson. She tells him to stop. Davidson does so and makes his escape.
But it seemed he was determined to continue his spree. Later on, he arrived at another address on Crescent Close.
He's intent on robbing his house, but again, he's disturbed. Davidson makes off, but unfortunately for him, he leaves his mobile phone and drops his machete at the scene.
Police are called to investigate, and they begin to hunt him down, piecing together the telltale clues of what else Jordan Davidson had been up to. Forensic analysis of digital technology, like mobile phones, can reveal a wealth of information, from GPRS giving away our location to details of our internet search history and call logs. But in this case, police quickly found out from Davidson's text messages that he was intent on far more serious crimes. They found out that Davidson had been sending lots of text messages to a 15-year-old schoolgirl in the town, a girl he was obsessed with and apparently trying to impress. One message sent minutes after the attack on the hair salon read, another series of messages said, Detectives didn't know what that meant. What had Davidson been about to do? How was he planning to seal his fate? In some of the final messages, Davidson wrote, "So Davidson was threatening to provoke police to kill him, perhaps by attacking them with a machete. But when police looked at the machete that Davidson had dropped, they were in for another shock. The blade was bloody. Somewhere there was a victim. But where? Fear in Wrexham was spreading."
Kyer Park was a worried place because this man was on the loose and nobody knew if he'd strike again. Everybody just had the wits about them, you know, just kept eye on who was following them and what was going on. When I got home the next day, there was police all around this area and around here. They had cordoned the road off, and I was a bit worried because I thought, was it the same person that robbed my car the day before?
Late on the 27th of March, we become aware that there's activity around Crescent Close on Kyer Park. We've been tipped off by people who live around there that there's police activity, there's police tape, and something serious has happened. In incidences like this, the police will keep the scene very tightly cordoned off and they'll keep information to a minimum. This is for operational reasons and we have to accept that, but obviously our job is to try and ascertain what's going on because people want to know. As time moves on, we start hearing rumours that there's actually a body in the flat, so it becomes more serious and more of our resources are mobilised in trying to find out what's going on, and it transpires that the body there is the body of Nicholas Chirtton, and it's an horrific scene.
Nicholas was a 67-year-old resident of Crescent Close. His brother is James Chirtton.
He looked after me, made sure I was all right, and he was just a good, a good chap. Nick didn't really have a bad bone in his body. He was just born to be, a restaurateur, really. He was very bon vivant, if you understand what I mean. He was full of life, and he enjoyed it, the rapport with the customers.
But by 2017, Nicholas Chirtton had fallen on some harder times. He'd lost his business and was living in a small flat in Crescent Close.
He'd open the door to anyone. Nick was a very vulnerable guy by this stage.
His friendliness had brought Nick into contact with Jordan Davidson before Davidson's latest crime spree had even begun.
One day, this Jordan Davidson came knocking on the door, asked if he could use his loo. And of course, Nick being Nick, said, "Oh yeah, of course, come in. And this guy used his loo and then pulled out a hammer. He was after money. Well, of course, Nick said, "I haven't got any money." A few days later, he came back again. And this time he came back and threatened him again. I think he came round 3 times, and on 3 occasions, Nick complained to the police. I said, "Look, I'm really worried about this guy. I've given you his name now. His name's Jordan Davidson." And anyway, the police didn't react.
Nick Chirtton's calls to the police were on March the 15th, but by March the 22nd, Davidson was still at large and in the midst of his crime spree on the estate. At 8 p.m. on March the 23rd, Davidson visited Nick Chirtton again.
He broke in. Well, the door was probably open, knowing Nick, might well have been. He broke in with a machete and hacked him to death. he was an evil man. He not only did he, I mean, this is fairly severe stuff. Nick wouldn't have lifted an arm to anyone. He was a very peaceful guy. This guy took a machete to his head, first of all, and then to his body, and then before he left, he chopped his arm off and his leg off with a machete.
In a close-knit town like Wrexham, news travels fast, and there was certainly a lot of fear and a lot of conjecture going around at the time of this. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might happen next. Nobody knows the motive. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. And so when you're in a community like that and something horrific happens, you know, everyone's a potential target. Everyone's worried. Everyone's locking the doors. People are fearing for themselves. What might happen next? Where might this strike next?
Police in North Wales now needed to quell that fear. They had a suspect, Jordan Davidson, and they had evidence: a bloodstained machete, the body of Nicholas Chirtton, and Jordan's own mobile phone containing text messages apparently admitting awful deeds. Now the need to locate, arrest and secure Davidson had reached a whole new level. The crime was murder. Wrexham was under siege and Davidson was at large. When police were called to the body of Nicholas Chirtton, they already had some idea of who was behind his death. Nicholas had been attacked with a machete in his own home on Crescent Close in the Kyer Park estate in Wrexham. But a machete had recently been found in a nearby garden following a string of violent offences in the same area. And the blade was found next to a mobile phone belonging to a known offender called Jordan Davidson. Now police needed to find him.
At this point, Davidson is, well, he knows he's past the point of no return. You're looking at a man who will be desperate, probably scared, and probably at this point willing to do anything. The problem for the police is they don't know where he is at this point and where he's going to strike next. We're now into a frenzy of activity. The police are making house-to-house inquiries. They're checking with all known contacts of Jordan Davidson. They're trying to track him. They'll be looking through CCTV. It's a proper manhunt now. People are talking amongst themselves. They are talking to us. There's chatter on social media. And it's a big melee of information. And the race against time now is to stop him before he kills somebody else.
While detectives focus their hunt on Wrexham, Davidson has made his way to Chester. There, he robs a man, hitting him once over the head with a claw hammer and taking his wallet and phone. That victim survived, but suffered a depressed fracture to the skull. Davidson, meanwhile, made off in a car.
The police have become aware that Davidson is travelling around in a BMW estate, and police, after a lot of diligent tracking, have managed to locate this car at a petrol station in Flint. We don't know what he'll do, but we do know that he's prepared to kill. Two officers approach that car, unaware that Davidson is hiding under a blanket in the back of it. What happened next demonstrated the bravery of the police officers involved.
Stay there. Are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah.
He wanted sort of that death by cop. He wanted to kill a police officer so that he would be killed by the police. I think we were lucky that we managed to keep him in the car.
If he'd have chose the knife first instead of the claw hammer, then
it'd been game over for you.
It would have been game over for me, I suppose.
Jordan Davidson was finally in custody, which gave detectives the chance to quiz him about the crimes and the murder of Nick Chirtton. They knew from text messages found on Davidson's phone that he was trying to impress a local girl with messages boasting about what he'd done. But they could find little in the way of any other motives for the crimes. It seemed Nicholas Chirtton had been killed for no reason.
When he was finally arrested by the police, he said, "Killing Nick Chirtton was one of the best days of my life." It's a very, very sad end to someone's life, and he was just murdered for nothing. There was no motive. The guy didn't get any money. It's sad. Nick did not deserve that ending. He did not deserve it in any way, shape or form.
In November of 2017, Davidson pleaded guilty to the charge of murder, as well as burglaries, assaults, and wounding with intent. He was jailed and told he'd serve a minimum of 30 years before he could be considered for release.
No journalist takes pleasure in listening to the details of a case like this. But there is a certain amount of crackle around such an unusual case. These things don't happen very often. The amount of crimes that were committed in such a short space of time is unprecedented. It's something that I've never seen before. He was almost on a death wish. And anyone that got in his way, he was going to just go straight over them. It was almost like a film script where somebody had just decided they'd had enough and they were going out in a blaze of glory.
With Davidson jailed, question marks were raised about why he'd been free to kill.
It turned out that this guy, Jordan Davidson, was out of prison on licence, but if he committed a crime, he would then go straight back to prison. He did commit a crime. He committed various crimes, and he went to court and they bailed him and let him go again, when he, in theory, should have gone straight back to prison. And 2 days later, he murdered my brother. He'd been brutally murdered by a guy who should have been in prison.
I think it's one of those cases that will stay, sadly, in Wrexham folklore forever. I spoke to a senior police officer, and he said to me that Davidson was one of the most, if not the most dangerous person he'd ever come in contact with. And he believed if they hadn't have caught him at that point, then he would have gone on to kill again.
I don't know him, I've never met him. I obviously don't like him, but unfortunately the world is full of ne'er-do-wells. We live in a society now of people who commit crimes and killings and so on and so forth without even blinking an eye. So it's society itself is the problem. Jordan Davidson is just a product of society today.
It could have been me, not Mr. Chirtton. That's how I look at it. I think I've been very lucky. I've had a lucky escape. It's a good job I was in the shower, to be honest with you. That's how I feel. He was one dangerous man.
I hope Rexom never sees another person like Jordan Davidson. He was definitely a one-off. Definitely a very complicated character, but a character with, and you could see this at trial, he had no remorse. He was smirking. He smirked when he got 30 years. When his sentence was extended, he smirked. He had no respect for the rule of law, he had no respect for other people, no respect for the people of Wrexham, and that's the most reprehensible thing about his behaviour. Let's hope we never see his like again.
The case of Jordan Davidson was heart-wrenching for the community of Wrexham. It was so senseless and with no motive. There were warning signs and an escalation of offending, but warnings and prison had done nothing to put Davidson on a lawful path. In this town, bloodshed, it seems, was inevitable.